Hi everyone, welcome to A Multicultural Affair. I am Saleha Singh. You must be wondering what this program is all about and what I'm all about, so I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. I grew up in an interfaith family. My mother was a Hindu, my father's a Muslim, my uncles married Christians, and my husband of 35 years is a Sikh. So multiculturalism runs in my blood, don't you think? And then 16 years ago, I moved to Melbourne, the heart of multiculturalism. And it has been a great journey. I have met some amazing people who I'm proud to call my friends. On the work front, I have been in communications for the last 20 years, nearly 15 of them in Melbourne. I have worked in some great organizations and worked with some amazing managers who have taught me a lot. I have produced and written magazines, newsletters, annual reports, website and social media content. And over the last few months, I have been doing Facebook Live chats on topical issues with subject matter experts. And if you would like to check out what they're all about, please head to my YouTube channel. It's called Saleha Singh, and here's some great advice from medical professionals. Community service has been a big part of my life. My mother built schools for disadvantaged girls in a small town in India. And when I was young, I volunteered with Mother Teresa's orphanage. In Melbourne, my community involvement started with PeaceMeals, where I met two amazing ladies. And it has had such a deep impact in my life that I keep going back again and again, or I went pre-COVID times. And to tell you more about this project are my two guests, Kate and Mary. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Sal.
Thank you for coming to this show. So, Kate, do you want to tell my viewers about PeaceMeals?
Okay, so PeaceMeals evolved from 2014 when I came to Melbourne as a stranger. And I had very few connections here. And it was at the time that quite a few refugees were arriving, and I was a little bit perplexed to the fact that so many people had an opinion about refugees and new Australians, but they hadn't had the opportunity to meet any. But they had strong opinions. So in looking for an avenue for me to socialise here, I used two of my skills. One was cooking and one was bringing people together. So I decided I would start this small venture. And so it started with just 20 people. And so 20 new Australians and 10 new Australians and 10 established Australians. And so we would meet at a small venue, and I would cook and we'd have a meal together, and just for the simple reason of meeting someone outside our normal little bubble circle. And so we did that at Social Studio, which was very supportive and was very innovative.
Sorry, what is Social Studio?
The Social Studio is it's a social enterprise where skills of sewing and small business, sewing, designing, fashion are taught. At the time, they also had a cafe. And so it's one of those innovative social enterprises in Melbourne. So we used to go there, and to give myself a reason for socialising, I used to go to the markets at Dandenong. I used to go to festivals. I used to go to live music, especially South American live music ventures, to get to know some of the new Australians. And so just bringing those people together. And so, of course, then as it grew, we needed it to become a legal entity. And so then the biggest problem was to try and get help to do that. And I put out some leads to different firms, and then Mary responded from Lander and Rogers. And through Mary and Lander and Rogers, you know, the huge the business of setting up the constitution and setting it up legally was done through that. And so Mary got involved. So Mary, do you want to talk a little bit about why you got involved?
Yeah. Well, I can't remember the exact day that I met you, Kate, but I remember you needed someone, a young lawyer, to help with setting up a constitution. So we had a commercial law department, and a young man called Hugh Lyons, I think Hugh was only in about first or second year, eagerly took on the project and became so involved with PeaceMeals that he has been very much part of our organisation ever since. And I work in the pro bono part of the law firm, and I run their community engagement. And my reason for getting then involved with PeaceMeals was because I'd been working with a group called Friends of Refugees, whereas a small group of very devout Catholic young people, and they had sort of pulled me in with their enthusiasm for helping asylum seekers. So it was, although it was called Friends of Refugees, it was about asylum seekers. And what we did was visit them on the weekends when they were newly out of detention to help them see what they needed, would be furniture, clothing and food. And then we'd go back the next Sunday with needs. And what I realised was they needed, as much as anything else, was a sense of connection and a sense of connection to community. And PeaceMeals seemed to offer exactly that. So it was a lovely fit.
Yes. So where did this entire idea come from? I mean, I know you talked about you being new, but the PeaceMeals idea where we all sit and share a plate of food with people we don't know, that's a great idea. I mean, that's amazing. I love that. And how does it work? Considering you don't have funding, yes.
Yes, well, we haven't needed funding. So because I have established my own restaurant and run a restaurant, so I had and done food. So I had an understanding. I'd been involved in, had an understanding of how food works and restaurants work. So I thought it wasn't good to lock ourselves into a permanent venue because you've got so many overheads. And
yes,
I decided, why don't we use all these venues we've got here? There's so many venues. So we tapped into venues that only operated during the day, didn't operate at night. And so we asked them if we could use their facilities at night because the night's closed and their chefs go at 4 or 5 o'clock. So we tapped into those, and there were 2 wonderful places that have been very supportive, and that's south of Johnson in Collingwood and Grub Fitzroy. And so they close in the afternoon. So what we do is we come in at 5 o'clock, about 4:30. We have till 7 o'clock to prepare a meal. And so initially we did it, and then as we got involved, we found that many of the new Australians wanted to share their food. It gave them an opportunity to share their food and their culture. It gave them a sense of belonging, of being in the kitchen. So then they would do the cooking with our support, and we would give them money for the ingredients. And so it has evolved. Yes, it's evolved like that, using already other facilities. And so our overheads are zero. Yes. And no one in our organisation needs to be paid. That's in the Constitution. So so what we do with the dinners is we put it on Facebook. It's all been done through Facebook. We put it on Facebook. People respond. We make a bit of an estimation of how many to cook for. Always 10 more or 10 less. And we simply greet people, and we have people mingle a little bit, and then we sit down and we share a meal at the table.
Yes, and that's a great idea.
We're passing the food to each other. We don't have our own little plate of food. We're actually sharing the meal with strangers.
Yes.
The hardest thing has been to explain to people how it works. And the hardest thing is for someone to decide to come when you
especially
don't know,
on a weekday. Yes.
in the room, and you're coming into a room of strangers. And so, but once you're in a room who are full of strangers and they have an open mind, of course, the warmth and the welcome and the exchanges are wonderful. But it's very hard for many people to make that move.
Always.
So then we have a meal and we have some speakers, people speak, and people who need something might talk. And then at the end of the meal, people decide what they want to pay. People who don't have jobs or new or asylum seekers have no pressure to pay. Everyone pays what they feel like for the meal. And it has happened that sometimes on one occasion a woman came to me and said, Kate, I'd like to make a donation because there's a young man that I've been speaking to and I would like to buy him a bike because he really needs a bicycle to get to his soccer. And I said, why would you pay me? Why would you give it to PeaceMeals? Give it to him directly. And so she gave it to him directly, and of course they formed a lovely friendship. So we encourage that sort of thing, as why give it to your meeting people. So if there is a mutual benefit, then you do that.
Of course. Mary, what is the idea behind the name PeaceMeals?
We just thought it was a nice getting together of the word peace and sharing a meal. But one of the other nice things about PeaceMeals is that in my job at Landon Rogers, I'm the community engagement, and I run a work experience program for students from refugee circumstances. We've seemed to concentrate on South Sudanese young people because we have a special South Sudanese business response program being run out of our pro bono group. But so PeaceMeals has been a wonderful pool for meeting people and then offering them work experience. And this is for secondary and tertiary students, and not necessarily tertiary law students, economics, whatever. And so I've had a lot of people that have come to PeaceMeals just by hearing about it, and then ended up coming to our firm and then have gone on to get internships through contacts. And so it's a really nice story. And we are like a family now. We've been going for 5 or 6 years now, Kate, I think. And it's we feel this year's been hard because we haven't been able to meet, and we feel it's hard for the PeaceMeals family because of the lack of connectivity. It's so important.
Kate, you've had some success stories with PeaceMeals. You want to share them?
Well, there's lots of small things. There's the breaking down of barriers. One girl came to PeaceMeals, and she's a very successful businesswoman, and she was talking to a man, and she decided that she would help him with his business profile, his accounts and such things. And then at the end of the dinner, I said, yes, well, he's just out of detention. She said, what? He's been in detention. Like she had this she had this understanding that everyone that was in detention had some sort of abnormality or criminality or negative.
Because that's how it's portrayed.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it's portrayed in the press. So the aim of PeaceMeals is just simply to meet face to face. It's to meet strangers face to face, and because many people don't have the opportunity.
Absolutely, yes.
If you're born and bred in Melbourne, you have your Melbourne friends, you don't need to go anywhere. You don't need more friends. And so this is just a little way for people to break through that barrier. But look, on many occasions, on different occasions, people have helped someone learn to drive. People have helped people with computers, mobile telephones. People have helped with cleaning, gardening, and then, but I suppose one of the families that probably we have had the most mutual benefit between us was I was living in Richmond. I'm walking down the I'm walking down Swan Street one day, and, you know, often there's people asking for money and there's people needing things. And so this man was asking for a donation. Mary, who was he asking the donation from?
For UNHCR.
Okay.
United Nations.
Okay, so here's this man asking for a donation, and I said, listen, mate, I'm in a hurry. I'll come back to you. And, of course, it was true. I was in a hurry, and so on the way back, he was still standing there. I said, listen, this is my standard answer to anyone asking for money. Look, I have my own charity, so I'm not going to give you money for your charity. And if you want to visit my charity, here is the name, and here is the name of it, and his link on Facebook. And he said, you know, I'm studying to be a lawyer. I would be interested. And so we exchanged emails. So I emailed him an invitation. So next PeaceMeals, you know, he finds his way there and he knocks on the door and says, can I come in? Then he says, I have a friend outside. Can she come too? And I said, yes, of course. And so that was Sayed and his fiancée, Amina. And then through coming to PeaceMeals and meeting Mary and doing the work experience, Amina doing work experience, they both got jobs. Amina
then got a job. His wife was studying law, and she got a job with my law firm, and for a year. And then when she finished, she's now working with Legal Aid out in Dandenong because she lives out there.
Yes, I saw that.
Saeed then got an internship with my son, who he met through PeaceMeals, and that was a year. And then he got employed by Premier and Cabinet, so he's working the public service as a lawyer. So it's a wonderful, good news story.
Yes, he said to me that he was going to go to Warwick, which was last year, a couple of years ago, and he was being sponsored by the government. So, you know, from a stateless person, 10 years ago? Or 12 years ago to now.
Less than that. I think they've only been here about 6 years altogether, and they've both done law degrees in that time. And they're now Australian citizens. Yeah.
Yes. I remember the day he came to PeaceMeals that he had just become an Australian citizen.
Yeah. So in the meantime, they've got married, they married each other, and they've had a baby, and they've got work. So look, and all it is it's nothing more at PeaceMeals. No one has to do anything except come with an open mind and talk to people. And so some people connect, some people don't, but there's no pressure on anyone to pay any money, to commit themselves to anything. It is just an experience, and it is very rewarding for people that do get involved. But
it's got there. Yeah. Sorry,
it's very hard
for a minute. So far, you have had all your PeaceMeals dinner in the city, and it has been after work. Are you planning to move to the suburbs sometimes when things get back to normal?
Well, it would be ideal for us to, it would be ideal if we could maybe have some help with councils taking us on, maybe Rotary clubs taking on some of the hosting of it. And we probably plan to have some outdoor meetings and maybe some picnics in the next few months, depending on
open up.
As things open up slowly. Yes, and so, yes, we will see how the future holds for us. But the concept is very simple because it doesn't cost money. The only cost we have to have up front is the cost of the food for dinner.
Yep.
And we cook very simple meals. We usually just have chicken and lots of vegetables. We keep them simple. And of course,
and you have people cooking for you. So there are people who cook for you. My friends would happily do that again.
Iranian, Iraqi, Sudanese, Nepalese, Indian. So we had a wonderful dinner with you, Sal, when you and your 7 friends. It was probably the biggest dinner that we've ever had. 7 or 80 people.
Yeah.
Yes, that was really big. Yes.
It was one, and everyone cooked from different regions of
Yes.
India. It was a
It was
wonderful
fabulous.
evening. Tell me about how you organised those women to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the men also, yes. I just called each one of them up and asked them to come over. And I said, let's do an Indian meal. And they all happily obliged. Nobody wanted money. Nobody wanted anything. Nobody wanted help. They were just happy to be part of it. And I think the only reason a lot of them haven't come back is because it is after work. And if they're not working in the CBD, then it gets difficult for them to, finish their work and get to the city, which is why I asked you, is there any future plans of moving to the suburbs? Because I think that will get easier for a lot of people to attend more regularly. I know I would like to.
Yes, that's right. So there's probably, a northern suburb, an eastern suburb, a southern suburb that we need to have some of those things instead of coming into the city all the time. But because a lot of the housing, of the government housing was in the inner city areas, we found it was easy then for people to get to the PeaceMeals. But yes, we found that weekend things don't work so well, that during the week
people are busy, yes, with their families.
Yes, the weekends don't work. We have had one at a South Sudanese restaurant in Footscray.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, which is great. And the African Hub, which is, it's in
Collingwood or
Collingwood. Yeah. But look, it's really central ground. It's sort of about Atherton Gardens, the big housing commission in Fitzroy, is where a lot of our original participants were. But people come. I mean, Zia, who's an Afghan asylum seeker, and he lives in Dandenong. He comes to everyone.
Yes, I know. He's done so well. He's become a painter.
Yeah, he's got his own business now.
Yeah, he's got his own business.
He started his own business. Yes, that's right. So
he just painted my front fence.
There you go. So where to from here?
Yes, we try and make it that it's not a patronising thing where that people are meeting on an equal footing as strangers. There's mutual benefit to both for understanding people who have a different background, to understanding of why they came to Australia and how they came to Australia. There's also great respect for people who've been through hardships and have had resilience and survived the hardships and are not bitter and move on. And so we hear lots of stories from people that are quite inspiring and make us understand that to be grateful for what we've got and to aspire for better things, like many of the people who come here as refugees have had to do.
Of course. Thank you, ladies. It's been really great chatting with you. I think our time's up. So I hope things only get better from here for you for PeaceMeals. And I look forward to seeing you whenever things get back to normal. Thank you for being my first guest.
Thank you, Sal.
Thank you, Sal. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.